Before I read this chapter of My Hero Academia, I saw it trending on Twitter 2 days before the official release. I saw Bakugou and My Hero Academia chapter 285 trending, and instantly, as soon as I saw that, I was definitely made very aware that something incredible was going to happen in this chapter before the official release. As soon as I saw this, I was like, uh-oh, something's definitely going to happen in this chapter. Because, I mean, when we look at chapter 284, it was setting up for Bakugou to do something. Because you could clearly see from Bakugou's emotions from chapter 284 that he felt very powerless. He felt like he really couldn't do anything to help out Izuku in the moment, because he realized that there was just such a vast difference in power of all for one versus one for all in comparison to the other heroes. No heroes can really step in to compete with just the amount of power that's being output by both individuals. And so when I saw Bakugou trending alongside the chapter, I was like, oh no, Bakugou, something happened to him. Something definitely happened. And like I assumed, it definitely did. And even though I kind of can say I was slightly spoiled, I'm still very shocked, and it is definitely an interesting turn of events that happen within this chapter, and it really opens the door up for so many possibilities for the story if Horikoshi is willing to go forward with what he just did with the final page of this chapter. Bakugou got impelled by Shigaraki, or at the very least All for One. And when you see this panel, it's very clear that Bakugou got hit near the heart, and he got hit in the stomach. Now, there has obviously been many series throughout Shonen that has done this exact same thing. You've had characters jump in to try to save the MC, and they get impelled, and then miraculously, like, a few chapters later or an arc later, they're A-okay. It never really mattered. The injury did not stay around, etc. It was okay. There was no fret or worry for the character, no threat of them potentially permanently dying. This happens typically in Shonen. However, we gotta look at what Horikoshi has been doing since the very beginning of My Hero Academia. He's constantly skirted around cliches, the normal cliches that normal shonen would have. For instance, when it comes to, let's say, friendship, power-up, etc., teamwork, and all that, he's always kind of applied some of these cliches to villains. He's always given it to them instead of the heroes. He's done an interesting way of depicting cliches in shonen, and he's also shown that he's definitely willing to kill characters. I mean, we gotta look at what happened with Night Eye. We gotta look at Gran Torino. He's literally just a warm corpse at this moment, and you gotta think about Shield. You gotta think about countless other heroes that are potentially dead thanks to Shigaraki already, and even Gagon. There's just so much to really put in perspective that Horikoshi is definitely willing to kill off characters. He's definitely not afraid of that, and it still says a lot, though, for him to take this step with Bakugou. Is he definitely willing to kill off a character such as important as Bakugou? Because we gotta look at the facts here, 100% facts. Bakugou is basically the other main character. He is not a background character. He isn't just like a regular support character. He is kind of like a main character, like straight up, like shares the spotlight with Izuku. And when we look at the character popularity polls, he's always like number one. He always beats Izuku in the first place in terms of character popularity polls ever since the manga came out. So when you see that, it's just like, if Horikoshi is willing to commit and actually kill off Bakugou, that says enough that there is no character that is legitimately safe at that point. There is no character that is safe from Horikoshi killing off. Because if he's willing to kill off Bakugou, that literally wins character popularity polls. But on top of that is sharing the spotlight with Izuku is like a character that's been with Izuku since the beginning. That says enough. And that is a major point to this chapter. Is Horikoshi willing? If he is willing, I am fearful for everyone else in this arc. That means that there is a lot of other characters that could potentially die, and I mean, we already know Aizawa has a missing leg, his eye might be permanently damaged, Gran Torino's gone, Shield Hero's gone, Miriko's technically permanently damaged. She's definitely never going to be able to be a hero again. Endeavor, most likely after this, is never going to be able to be a hero again. You have so many heroes of the part of the top 10 that are not really going to be able to work anymore. There's so many that's kind of out of commission. It's just left and right losses here and there. So I'm just curious where the story is going to go. Bakugou as a character, seeing him in this chapter, it really signifies everything that many fans have been talking about for a very long time about his character, his development, etc. Kind of how he took Izuku's traits of being a hero upon himself. when he had that moment within this chapter and he dived in to push Izuku out of the way and he took the hit, he says his body moved on its own. He had no thoughts. He didn't think about it. He just went in, he saved Izuku, and he took the hit. It's very similar. It's a callback to kind of the fundamentals of what makes Izuku a hero. His body just moves on its own. He can't really control his impulses to want to save someone. It's kind of the callback to when Izuku saved Bakugou at the beginning of the story. Before Izuku even had a quirk, before he had One for All, he saved Bakugou. And Bakugou remembers that, and that was a big shame on him, and it constantly stuck with him at the beginning of the story. He's like, I got saved by a kid that had no quirk that I've been bullying since the very beginning, and then that kind of initiated a lot of change within Bakugou, and we know where he's at now. And seeing this moment, it's kind of like Bakugou is returning the favor, but he didn't do it in the means of that. He just moved because he's now truly learned how to be a hero and help people, and he took some of those qualities that Izuku has into himself. Very much how Izuku takes qualities of Bakugou into himself, of wanting to win, to go up against impossible odds, etc. Bakugou has done the exact same thing. He's now truly wanting to save people, protect people, etc. So it's a really interesting character development. It's a nice way to really kind of give a final cherry on top to Bakugou if he does in fact die. Like, if this is Bakugou's send-off, let's just say Bakugou indeed is dead, okay? Hypothetically, this is a perfect way to, I think, to kind of conclude his character. I mean, he legitimately, he's gotten to see that he's kind of like similar to Endeavor, but he doesn't have like certain hatred like Endeavor. He, has accepted that he wants to help out Izuku and help him progress as a hero, atone to a certain extent. There is a lot of things that Bakugou has overcame in these latest chapters of the series, and if this is his send-off, if this truly is his finale of his character, I think it is a good finale, personally. I don't think he's gonna die straight up instantly. However, if this was JoJo, that would be another thing, because, I mean, we know impalement in JoJo, when you get donutted, you're done, like, just straight up. But, obviously, this isn't JoJo, and I don't think Horikoshi is willing to go to that extent. If Gran Torino is literally talking as a warm corpse, Bakugou is at least gonna have a few words before he's, like, dead. But, point is, though, is that I'm worried, but I'm also excited, depending on where Horikoshi wants to take this, because we're going into uncharted territory at this moment with the story, and it's exciting. So, okay, let's talk about the fight. Izuku, mad ladding, going in, and just throwing himself against, all for one Shigaraki. It's something we're aware of. Even before this chapter came out, I made it very clear in the past 2 chapters, Izuku in this fight is definitely not really caring or concerned about his body's well-being, because he knows that this fight needs to be finished. If he can't finish Shigaraki here, is going to speak volumes about the future. The future is going to get very dark and depressing. It's going to be bad. It's already bad enough. Like, even if Shigaraki goes down, as I've already said, Hero Society's technically already lost, because there's just so much damage to just the country at this point that there's no repairing. Like, people are instantly going to lose faith in heroes. You're going to have people instantly having anarchy, etc. There is going to be so much bad that's going to be happening thanks to just what's already happened with Gigan and Shigaraki. So because of that, even if Shigaraki goes down, what he wants is technically already happening. The point is, Izuku, if he does take him down, it does stop Shigaraki from continuing his rampage and destroying even more, killing so many other innocents that don't actually deserve it. And so he's willing to throw his body to the meat grinder to be able to actually win. And we get kind of a reminder to how many hits that Izuku can actually do at max power before he's done. And it is stated by the doctor he only has 3 really good hits. And it's stated literally at the beginning of the chapter that before he even starts to punch within this chapter, that he's already done 3 solid hits at 100%, so his arm is already messed up. But then you see him go even beyond that, and he does 4 extra hits to really kind of put the final nail in the coffin on his arms. He goes hit after hit after hit after hit just to smash Shigaraki and finish him completely, but even then, it really was not enough. So it's just like, yeah, Izuku's arms are done. Like, straight up done. Like, even if Bakugou somehow survives this, Izuku's arms are done. 100%. There is no coming back for Izuku's arms because of just how much he's damaged them. You could even see his arms bouncing and like flailing backwards in mid-fight. You can see he's literally losing control of his arms in the middle of the fight against Shigaraki towards the end of the chapter. You see his arms just rebounding constantly, and he's not even able to control Black Whip as much anymore because of it. It's just like, yeah, Izuku, the only reason why he's not able to kind of pass out at this point is because he has so much adrenaline in him. He's just being pumped with so much adrenaline that he probably doesn't even feel the pain. But soon as it's done, this fight's done, and he kind of becomes aware of his injuries, he is going to be in so much pain. I can't even begin to imagine how he is going to feel, but it's going to be awful regardless. So yeah, I think that this fight is definitely something that's going to have both sides come out with things that they will never be able to overcome again. Like, Shigaraki's probably going to be permanently damaged to some extent, and Izuku as well. Izuku most likely might become very similar to what All Might was, at the beginning of the story, before, Izuku became his successor. And Shigaraki most likely might become something that, All For One was, so damaged that he needs to also look for a successor, one or the other. But I feel like both of these two have been going at each other to such an extent that they are so beyond repair that it's just ridiculous at this point. Which, by the way, to talk about something else, I do want to mention that when it comes to this battle, Shigaraki does have the upper hand. He does have built-in regeneration, and obviously he even states that it's not completely able to keep up with the damage he is receiving, but at the same time, Izuku's body doesn't have regenerative properties, which means that the more he uses his power, the more he uses 100% and he hits Shigaraki, the more damage he's going to sustain that he's not going to be able to recover from. And we've already seen the extent of just his body. His body will eventually give out. As much as your mind wants to keep going, eventually your body will say enough is enough and just straight up give up. And it's happened in the muscular section of the story, when Izuku's arms literally gave out and he could not do anything anymore, and that's kind of what caused Bakugou to get captured in the first place and set up a whole chain of events. So, I mean, when we look at this, Izuku is running out of time. He doesn't have much time. And at this point, it seems like Endeavor was not enough, Bakugou took the hit, and now Izuku, the only thing he really can rely on at this point to fight with is his legs. That's the only thing he can really use now to fight with. That is it. If he doesn't use his legs, it's over, and that's all he has to fight with, because his arms are so done, there's nothing else. So, okay, anyways, let's talk about some artwork for a second. I want to talk about the paneling with Endeavor when he uses Prominence Burn. Prominence Burn looks absolutely spectacular in this chapter. I don't know how many people noticed it, but when Endeavor activated his Prominence Burn, the paneling actually, got pushed away. And it's a very unique way to do paneling within a manga. It's a very expressive way just to show the power of Endeavor, and I love that. It's a very interesting depiction of just the power of Endeavor through manga form, and I wish more manga actually did this, express their powers, etc., through the paneling. There's so many shonen manga I have seen over the years that actually don't do that. They don't take the risk. They take more of a traditional format with their paneling, but it seems like Horikoshi is really trying to be experimental with these latest chapters, or at least this arc in general, with a lot of his paneling. I appreciate that stuff. It's really cool, and I just think that needed a definite shout out just because of how Prominence Burn looked in this chapter. So the last thing I want to say before I kind of wrap up this video is that Shigaraki got his body taken over by All For One. Now, at this point, I don't think Shigaraki is permanently gone, because I think it would be bad writing, and I think Horikoshi knows if, Shigaraki's body's taken over, all that character development that Shigaraki got would become absolutely worthless. However, because of Shigaraki's kind of, state, how he's just so damaged, the vestige of All For One kind of had to step in to make sure that his will carries on. And it does make me wonder, though, that if this could happen for Shigaraki, if it's going to happen with Izuku, I wonder if the vestige of the original One For All user, the brother of All For One, might step in to be able to face, All For One. That would be interesting. I'd like to see a original One For All versus All For One fight, the two vestiges going at each other. It would definitely be a unique twist to this fight, a nice conclusion that I think nobody would really expect, and I think that would be really cool if Horikoshi actually kind of dabbled into that, since he's been getting into a lot of the kind of similar vibes of Avatar. But yeah, that's pretty much about it, though, when it comes to this chapter. Let me know your thoughts and comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.